Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Series 7 of Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours is trying to interview 200 loiners, that's people from Leeds, over the first half of the most important decade in the history of the human species and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission for this podcast is to try to capture just some of what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, is doing during humanity's biggest emergencies. On Working Hours, you hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and tell me about what they do all day and let me record how this decade affects our work. Thank you for listening to this episode. What did you want to be when you grew up?
So, it's going to sound really sad, but I pretty much always wanted to be a teacher. My mum was a primary school teacher, two of my sisters are teachers, loads of auntie and uncles are teachers. I think it's pretty much in my DNA to be a teacher. I've just always loved it. Like, when I did my Duke of Edinburgh when I was 13, I volunteered at working with children in like a before and after school club, and I just loved it. And as soon as I finished my DFE, they were like, do you want to carry on working here? So from a very young, from 13 all the way through, and even when I went to uni, I worked with children, volunteered with children. I did a volunteer job there working as a mentor for GCSE students. I've always done it, and it was never a case of I'm going to go and do drama and music at uni because I want to go and be a performer. This was my way into teaching. I think I had a bit of an age, about 13 or 14, I had that thing where I'm probably quite unique in that I'm obviously a drama lover, a musician, but I also was really into my maths and sciences. And I had a bit of a thing when I was about 13 or 14 where I was like, wanting to be either a chemical engineer or a pathologist. And I got to that point of choosing my A-levels, and it was very much do I go down the sciences and take my maths, biology, chemistry, or do I do the arts? And it's a big change, isn't it? And it was very much a turning point for me. And I think what actually put me off doing the sciences was that I was in the advanced maths group at school where I did my GCSE maths early. And so I did it I sat it when I was about 14, so I did it in year 10. And then the problem is when you come to do your A-levels, I'm like, actually, I've gone quite a while, like 18 months without actually doing maths. And so if anything, it actually put me off. So it hampered even doing it. So I don't necessarily think that getting students to do the GCSEs early is the best course for them. So for me, definitely, not that I think I would have loved doing chemistry and maths, because with my personality maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I feel like I chose the right route. I feel like teaching came naturally to me. It was in my blood, my personality.
Well, it also gives you, because it's a profession, it's a vocation, and it gives you jumping off points because you could always sort of retrain and start teaching something else, and you've got that skill now to teach.
I think I very quickly became institutionalised. I think over the years I've sort of thought a little bit about choosing a different career, but I've been in education since I was 4, and I've literally went straight from A-levels to university to teacher training to being in schools. It's a scary world out there. I'm not sure what I'd do with a normal 9-to-5 job and not having my 6 weeks holiday. And I am very institutionalised, and I will accept that. So it's almost like, for me, when I think of terms of a year, I think from September to September. Whereas I know people like New Year's, January. I'm like, no, I'm in the middle of my course now. I'm totally embedded in education. And I'm happy with it.
I think it's interesting that you said pathologist. So this is a detour. So out of things that I remember that people have said, loads of people didn't want to be anything, which surprised me.
Oh, yeah.
Football's an obvious one. Not many, train drivers, astronauts sort of stuff. A lot of people wanted to be pilots, which I think is Top Gun's fault. And I think the pathologist thing is, again, that's a TV thing, I reckon. Because I wanted to be a pathologist.
I'm trying to think what I watched.
Saw the murder programmes.
But I don't know, my parents were fairly strict over what I watched, so I can't. I think I just love biology, and I've always been a bit gross with like picking things, like like husband, he's gonna kill me for saying this, my husband has a spot, I'm like, I'm gonna pick it, and like gross things. And also I think I spent quite a lot of time in hospital as a very young kid, having had a lot of hip surgery, so I don't know if that's had an impact of me of wanting to do it. And I have always just, I love doing my first aid training course every 3 years. Like, I jump at the chance of doing it. I got my first, and I'm like, I love it. And when I'm on the course, I just want to do more. If I had time, like definitely in the future, I'd love to go and do something like St. John's Ambulance, because I just find it fascinating. So I think that's the part of me that would have wanted to go into the sciences. But I love reading about pathology though as well, because I'm an avid reader, and we read a book in book club by someone called Sue Black, who is a pathologist, and it's one of the best things I've ever read. It's fascinating, the things that you can learn from a skeleton. Yeah. We've gone a bit dark. This is a step away from drama,
It's fine. It's theatre kids. So, did you see the Bones exhibition that was on at Leeds Museum a bit ago? It's good. Yeah, it was very good.
That's the kind of thing I'd be interested in. I think people who are into drama are often very much put into a box of this is what they're like, and this is what the kind of teachers they are. They all think of Mr. G from Summer Heights High, if you've ever seen that, and they're very, all scarce floating around the room. And I feel like I've always sort of gone against the norm of what a drama teacher probably is like. I'm extremely organised. I'm quite efficient, but I love my sciences and my maths and my Sudoku puzzles. I'm a big board gamer with the Catan and the Ticket to Ride, and I'm an avid book reader, and my biggest geekiest thing is that I love cathedrals. I love going around the UK, and me and my husband have a book on cathedrals, and the only one I've not been to, which is of the main medieval cathedrals, is Canterbury, and that's where we're going on holiday this summer, just so that I can see Canterbury Cathedral. And I say that as an atheist as well. I just love my medieval history in particular. So I think it's having maybe that helps me better as a drama teacher or a theatre's having a big interest in everything, because the world is a big place. Theatre is becoming more and more about so many different things, different cultures. So I think it's having that interest in everything, not just theatre. I think maybe makes the world a lot more interesting. Maybe makes me better as a theatre critic, which I've not gone into that role with you yet, which we can jump onto at some point.
You're listening to Series 7, Episode 6, and to my guest, Maria Forryan. This is another in-person recorded on location at Elliott Hudson College, recorded on the 11th of June 2026. Hello, colleague. Maria Forryan is subject lead of drama at Elliott Hudson College. She has also taught A-level music, BTEC music, GCSE English, EPQ, and been a mentor for trainee teachers whilst working there. She has also been there for 10 years now since moving from Shanghai, and she also works for AQA as an A-level drama examiner as well. Starting her teaching career as head of music at a comprehensive school in Oldham, although she also taught drama, which she definitely preferred, Maria then moved to a very posh private boarding school in Suffolk, which she says looked like Hogwarts. There she held the position of director of drama for 4 years. Then, fancying somewhere a bit louder and brighter, she took a job as Director of Performing Arts at the British International School in Shanghai, before she moved back to the UK with her husband to start a family. They didn't know Leeds well, but Maria's sister lived in Morley, and they liked the city from the couple of times they had visited. So, from the other side of the world, they decided to move to the best city that there is, Leeds. And she's been here ever since. Additionally, Maria volunteers as a theatre critic and interviewer for Leeds Living magazine, which promotes living in Leeds. Usually covering professional productions, mainly at Leeds Grand and Leeds Playhouse, Maria also enjoys reviewing local amateur theatre as well. Maria particularly likes to review children's theatre, as she can take her 2 children along to the shows too, and they, by all accounts, love it. Maria also does, upon request, interviews with cast members or directors in the lead up to particular shows. In the last year, she set up her own Instagram page, Maria Reviews Leeds Theatre, where she shares all the links for the shows she reviews and anything else that she sees, such as music concerts or shows outside of Leeds. On top of all of that, Maria also plays for Leeds' wheelchair basketball team, where her husband is a coach. She is a qualified scaffolder and bricklayer, a qualified minibus driver, and, like me, thanks to Underwood Training, check out Series 5, Episode 33 for more on them. She's also a first aider, which she uses at her work. Maria is also a trustee on her kids' PTA, as well as being a parent governor. This is one that goes hard on theatre and soft on the standard questions, but I hope it's as fun for you to listen to this recording as it was for me to listen to Maria and her passion for this great art form. Right, let's do this. Episode 197 of Working Hours with Maria Forryan. Okay, so my second question is what are you doing now? And then the third is sort of how you got into it. So we know you're a teacher. So you're teaching, you're teaching drama, and you're teaching year 11 and 12?
So 12 and 13. So this is a sixth form college. So I started my first job back over in Oldham. When I was teacher training, and I did it in music, because back then they didn't really do drama PGCEs for teacher training, so I had to do it in music as a way to sort of catapult then into drama. And I actually got approached by my old school to see if I would go there as a teacher. So I went back to my old school, which was weird because I'd only been away 4 years, and I went back as a teacher. And then within a year I was then head of music there, and it was a large school, and we had a brilliant music department. It was fantastic, brass bands, wind bands, big choirs, just the likes that you don't really see that much, particularly in state schools anymore, and it was brilliant. But I taught a lot of drama, and from that I was like, do you know what, this is what I want to do. And after 4 years then there, I applied to be, for a total different change of scene, director of drama at a boarding school down south. And I kid you not, it was like Hogwarts. It was a big manor house built in the 1600s, and it was on 480 acres of land. The girls wore floor-length tartan things. I had teacher robes, and I lived on site, and it was like another world from what I'd grown. I'd just grown up in a normal comprehensive school in Oldham.
That looked a bit like a factory.
It was like a mill, to be honest. Yeah, it did. And so I remember for my interview, my mum had drove me down because I'd been teaching the day before and doing exams. She was like, I'll drive you down. I remember driving down the big formal drive to get to the manor house, and she was like, oh, Maria, I think this is a bit posh for us, this place. I was like, thanks for the confident, mum. But they took a chance on me. I think I was the first person at the school with a regional accent. And it was amazing because I'd gone for a school where we had no money for productions to a school where all of a sudden I was getting like 40 grand a year to put on shows. And, one of the shows I did, we did Beauty and the Beast, and I ended up hiring the set and the costumes straight from the West End. And it was phenomenal. Just the amount of resources. So I learned so much as a director because I was like, I've got funds to actually spend. I'm not having to go through charity shops and look at scrounging for stuff in. From there, I did like my first Fringe Festival productions up in Edinburgh. So I took students up there and we formed our own shows. And for me, it was just such a wealth of experience. And I felt a little bit like I was betraying my roots. As a teacher, you do. But then I got experiences that I definitely didn't have growing up. I mean, I went for 2 summers working in Malawi, in Africa, and we built schools over there, so I did my bricklaying qualification. I was already a qualified scaffolder, so, I was on it. I loved doing stuff like that, and we went out there and worked with children. I travelled and did scuba diving trips, and we went to New York on art trips, and it was just so many experiences that as heartbreaking as it sounds, I would just never have got them in the state sector. And after 4 years of being there, I was like, oh, this is great, but it's really quiet. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I was still in my 20s. I was like 20. I was like, I want to do something a bit different. And so I applied to be Director of Performing Arts at the British International School in Shanghai, where it was like one of the largest cities in the world, so it couldn't have been more different. But the whole system of going to teach abroad, it was, you know, when I did it 12 years ago, it was really supportive. It was a brilliant way of just getting more experience, a bit more about the world and seeing what else is out there. So if there's any teachers out there who've never done it, I can't recommend enough just having just a couple of years, especially while you're still young, going and teaching abroad. I was at Nordangular School, which is one of the premium international schools in the world, and they've got 40 all around the world. And it was like picking up probably one of the best schools in the UK and plonking it in Shanghai. And you had amazing students, I had small classes, again, phenomenal resources. Less in the world, there wasn't as much in Shanghai of touring theatre companies and like live productions to see. So I helped set up a production company that I've worked with a lot in the UK called Splendid Productions. I'd had them every year while I've been a teacher in the UK, and I worked with them when I was a student, and I got in touch with them and I was like, I just can't imagine a year without you coming to visit my school. I know I'm in Shanghai. Would you come out here? So I helped them set up their first Asian tour, and they went around all the different international schools, and they did that for a few years, basically, which was a great experience. And it was great because while I was over there, it was a little bit like being back at university because there's a fairly big turnover in international schools. So when I started, there was probably about 30 or 40 new teachers that year, all probably in our late 20s. They put us all into this same, what they call the compound, which sounds wrong, but like the same flats in the same area of Shanghai. And it was like being back at university, but with loads of money.
Well, it's that sort of thing of being abroad and being a foreigner in a foreign land, and you're with other people, and it's that sort of like, no one else is having this experience. We all have this experience together, and it's unique. And like even when you don't get on, you find different things, and you really sort of bond.
Oh, it's a really unique experience. And then every weekend we were like, oh, should we go and have a trip to Hong Kong this weekend? A trip to Bangkok, or let's go over to Seoul. And it was brilliant, like just being able to see the world, but with money.
Have an income and have some security.
And do it without backing. Like I've done my DV, I've done the sort of like sleeping in a tent and carrying your life around, but you got to do it a little bit more in style over there because you were closer to everything. You could go to Hong Kong for a weekend and you didn't have to do the whole backpacking. You could take a little carry-on suitcase. So my husband, he's done his travelling. He spent, 2 years travelling around the world on a budget with his backpack, sleeping in a sleeping bag at the side of the road in Turkey, and that's kind of it. I was like, I'm nearly 30 now. I feel like I did it my way, so I did the travel in my way. But it was a great experience, and again, being such an international company, the Nordangular, I got to work all over the world. I did my training in Singapore for the teaching IB. I did a big lot of work one summer with the Juilliard in New York, where we created a new music curriculum. And again, it's just having those experiences I wouldn't have got over here. But then Shanghai is not probably the healthiest place to live. Like the pollution level is on another level. So I was, a big runner, and I used to go out for my runs in the morning. And in this country, I'd look on my phone to see what the weather was going to be like. And there was an app, torrential downpour, I won't go for a run. In Shanghai, you had an app for the pollution. And if it reached certain levels, I was like, well, you can't go for a run that day. Yeah. And it was unbelievable. We used to have flags hanging up at the school, whereas if the pollution got above a certain level, the flags would go up and the students had to have indoor play. And you could see it on really bad days in the winter. Like, I think a bad day in this country, like in London, is considered about 90. I can't remember the scale that they do it off, but in like Shanghai, the worst day there was maybe 550. Yeah. And at that point, you could see the particles of pollution in the air, and the cloud, the sky looked orange. And I was just like, me and my husband, we were ready. We're like, we want to settle down, start a family. And I was just like, I don't think I could do it here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids there with asthma.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to be close to my family.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have stayed in the international sector, but I think I've come from such a close, big family that the thought of having my own children and not being around my family, I just couldn't envisage it. So when we decided to come back, I'm from Oldham, my husband's from Leicester. I didn't really want to move back to Oldham. I didn't want to go back to Leicester. But we need to start somewhere that's a bit neutral.
Yeah.
And my sister lived in Leeds, Claire at that point, and we'd been once or twice. And I was like, well, it looks like a nicer place than any. We quite liked it. And I ended up, well, this is what they don't warn you about teaching internationally, is that you finish in, say, the end of the July, the end of the academic year, but you have to hand your notice in by the October.
Yeah.
So you have to make that decision way in advance that, I'm going to leave in 10 months' time.
Because they have to plan as well.
Exactly, and it's harder to get teachers. So you left them without a job, because jobs in the UK don't start coming up until, say, like February or March time. And that for me was terrifying. I was like, I've handed in my notice, I haven't got a job back in the UK. And this was like, 10, 11 years ago, way before, FaceTime, like video, doing interviews online came about. And it was trying to find, I was looking for jobs and thinking, I can't go to that interview day. Like, the only way you're going to be able to interview me is by doing it online. And it was way before that had come the norm. And I remember just applying for a few jobs. I was like, do you know what? As long as it's in drama, I'll be happy. I'm going to go back and start a family. That's what I'm happy with. And I was really lucky with this college. It was a new college at the time. And the principal, he must have seen something, because he took a complete gamble, and I was the first person he'd ever done an online interview with. If he's listened to this, I think he wouldn't mind me saying, I think he was as nervous as I was.
Yeah.
A bit like, is this going to work? How's this going to work? Because he'd seen other applicants that day where they'd done a full day of interview and they'd seen them teach, and he was like, well, you get a 30-minute chat with me. But luckily, obviously I got the job, and so I'm over here. So I applied for it, so I got the job, having never set foot in the school, and not really knowing Leeds, and not having anywhere to live, and just totally taking a gamble. And do you know what? It's really paid off for me. I was nervous at first about just teaching A-level. And obviously I taught A-level for years before, but even as an experienced teacher, the thought of just teaching A-level, it's quite daunting, because there's a lot of responsibility lying on that. This is the students' future for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
It's a lot in terms of pressure, in terms of marking and getting it right for the exam
It's
board.
the hardest one as well. It's like, it's harder than your degree.
Oh, absolutely. I say it's more work than your degree, definitely. So even as an experienced teacher, I was like, I'm a bit nervous about this. I'm going and teaching just A-levels, can I? But I took a gamble, I think, as much as the college did on me. And I came here, and I've absolutely loved it. I've really enjoyed it. I like the structure of this college. It's sort of a nice medium between a university and a high school, in that we really support the students, but it's relaxed, it's a peaceful environment, it's a real community spirit. But then we don't just say to the children, well, this is what it's like, we're just going to leave you to it, we give them the support that they need. So I feel like it's a really happy balance, and particularly for me, I like a little bit of structure still, rather than just being free for all. If you do the work, you do the work. If you don't, you fail. No, we're going to support you. And I like that about it. So yeah, we ended up moving to Leeds. My sister lived in Morley, so we ended up moving to Morley again, not knowing anything about it. And it was affordable prices at the time.
Yeah.
Don't think it is now, but it's changed a lot. And it's great. There's loads of bars there now. There's loads of restaurants. And about a year after me moving here, one of my other sisters, who also lived we've all emigrated to West Yorkshire now, that's how good it is. One of my other sisters was writing as a food critic for a magazine called Leeds Living that promoted Leeds. And she just emailed me, she was like, oh, my editor Mags is looking for someone to review theatre who knows a bit about it. Would you like to do one? And I have no idea what my first one was. I can't remember, it was that long ago. And I remember doing it, and instantly I was like, oh, this is great. I'll do it again. And that's definitely something that has made me feel part of Leeds doing something like that. So over the last 9 years, I've gradually started doing more and more theatre reviews.
Yeah.
I've got to know more of the theatres in Leeds. I mean, I've never had that in the Shanghai. The theatre scene just wasn't massive, especially international. Even in Bury St Edmunds, it was fine, and I took students to plays a lot, but it wasn't. They didn't have the amount of theatre that's going on in Leeds. And at the time, when I'm my first year here, I probably wasn't I was just settling in. I wasn't aware of what was going on in Leeds. And working for Leeds Living as a writer was just really giving me the opportunity just to see everything that Leeds has on offer. And I tell you what, I'm still discovering more and more now.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable what's going on in Leeds.
You just feel like you're constantly just scratching the surface, don't you? You're like, what?
Like,
there's more. There's more of this.
I could be at the theatre every single night if I wanted to. See an amazing theatre every night. And I think that's what I've discovered, and that's one of my favourite things about living in Leeds. So at first I was like, hitting up the Leeds Grand. They were the first things that I started reviewing. And they're fine. I've seen some great shows there, don't get me wrong, but I feel Leeds Grand, it's very much your mainstream theatre. It's your big ones that are likely to sell. I think they do those big musicals particularly well, Leeds Grand.
Yeah, it's for touring shows. It's like, you know, if it fits, you know, because otherwise it ends up going to the Alhambra. But if it's a big commercial show, then it's like the Grand's the perfect place for it. You've got Opera North, you've got Northern Ballet. And then the Playhouse is more sort of, you know, modern-y, trendy kind of stuff and commercial stuff as well. And
so with Leeds Grand, like I say, I enjoy it, but if I can think of the worst shows I've seen in Leeds, they've probably all been at the Leeds Grand. Whereas the best ones have as well, but I think what doesn't work at Leeds Grand overly are your plays. I don't think they do plays, and there's always an issue with volume, with hearing at Leeds Grand when it's just the plays. I mean, but I have seen some stunning ones. Life of Pi was amazing, and I know it's very similar to Warhorse in the terms of the use of puppetry, and so it worked on a big stage. But yeah, it's so Leeds, and do you know what? Leeds Grand know how to do a good press night as well. The alcohol helps. I think
it's a fantastic venue as well. It's a really beautiful building.
Really beautiful, and they get some great shows. I mean, just in the next 8 months, 2 of the shows I've been desperate to see are coming on. You've got Operation Mincemeat in September, which I'm so excited. I mean, it's been one of the best review shows I think I've ever been on the West End. And it's just hilarious. And then completely different show coming next year. You've got Hades Town, the first UK tour, which I can't wait to see it. I've already said to Mags, my editor, I'm like, please put me down for these shows, please. They're just phenomenal. But I'd say I particularly love going to the Playhouse. Like you've said, it's the theatre that's a bit more contemporary. It's more theatre, what I would call it. It's not always your happy clappy musicals. It's theatre that I think makes you think, it challenges you, and there's a massive range of stuff going on there. The shows that I've always been the most surprised with are the ones that I go and see at the Leeds Playhouse. There's a show a couple of years ago called The House with Chicken Legs. And me and my friend went, and we're both like, what is this? I went to see it, and it was stunning. That particular any shows in the Courtyard Theatre, they're the ones that I'm always keeping my eye out for, because the Quarry House one is the big, massive Olivier-style theatre. But for me, the Courtyard with the typical proscenium-style staging, and it's a bit more intimate. The style of shows that go on there, they're the one that I've left where I'm just like, wow, I want to talk about that. War of the Worlds that was on a few months ago. Really creative use of technology. We went to see a beatboxing one with my kids, and they were fascinating. And I think that's what I love most about writing for Leeds Living, is that I go and see a lot of children's theatre, and the companies are amazing. Whenever it's a children's theatre show, they'll always give me 3 tickets so I can take both of my kids. They are probably the children in Leeds who've been to the most amount of theatre ever, and they love it. The experience that they've seen. I took them to see their first ballet, and it was ballet designed for children by Laurent Ballet Company, and it was phenomenal. I was a bit unsure about how my 8-year-old son would feel about going to a ballet, because he's into his football and his, pretending to do battles and that. He loved it. They changed the dwarfs into minors, and the music and choreography was stunning, and he just sat there with his open mouth like, this is awesome. And I was like, getting a kid to see a ballet. And then what was nice is I was able to then share that through Leeds Living and be like to other people, come and see this show, this is brilliant, this is on in Leeds. So about a year ago, on the recommendation, I think it was of my brother-in-law, he was like, you need to set up an Instagram account where you can share all these reviews, because obviously it's on Leeds Living. I am probably quite typical of someone of my generation where Instagram scares me a bit. Not even scares me, confuses me, shall I say. I mean, social media, it's taken over everywhere, isn't it? And I was like, do you know what, I need to jump on board.
Yeah.
I've always had, probably for like the last 5 years, I've got an Instagram page for my drama department at college. And the students love it. Like, it's massively increased engagement in my department from the students. It's a private account, so they have to request to join it. But they love it because I can share pictures of things they're doing in class, videos. I can share theatre that's on with them.
Yeah.
They do some silly TikTok videos and stuff like that, and I'm sharing them, and I can send reminders like, don't forget it's your exam tomorrow, or we're going on a trip here. And it's just been brilliant. And people are so quick to highlight the negatives of social media. Whereas actually for me as a teacher, there's been so many benefits to it. And I make sure that all of the posts I put on, you turn off the comments. So, you're not getting in, and it's because it's, particularly with drama and teaching, it's about all the time having that professional boundaries with your students. And it's just finding that safe life of making social media work for you while still keeping it appropriate, keeping it responsible, protecting the student as well. So they know that I'll ask him, am I okay to post this on Instagram? And it's a closed group anyway, so only they can see it. Yeah. And they obviously can't comment on things, and I'll always, be really mindful of what comments I post and things like that. But students love it. They love seeing pictures of themselves. They love seeing pictures of themselves working and being like, oh, look at this of me doing this show, and this is brilliant. And they'll send me, I'll have students who've left college who'll email saying, oh, I'm doing this now and I'm doing that, and then I'll share it with my other students. And it's just a great way of keeping in touch with past students who can then come and share their experiences, but also just to engage my students in my department and make it fun for them. I think a lot of the time in schools, teachers are so busy, unbelievably busy. It's hard to remember that school can be fun. College can be fun, and it's, you want students to put in those hours after college, and to come in at half term, you want to make it fun for them, and social media has helped. So about a year ago, my brother-in-law said, get yourself set up on social media. And so I created this is for my reviews, so I created an Instagram account, Maria Reviews Leeds Theatre, and I'm still learning. It's only been a year, but I've set up my link bio. So in my link bio now, I've got all of the different reviews that I post for Leeds Living in there, and obviously I can tag them into all of my reviews. But then it also means that if I'm not doing official reviews for Leeds Living, or if I just go and see a show myself, or even if I go and see like a music event or things like that, something that's usually connected to the arts, I can share it. I went last week to see the comedian MC Hammersmith at the Wardrobe.
I've heard about him. Yeah, someone else, a friend of mine was going to that, was quite excited about it.
On another level, possibly the best comedian I've ever seen, and as someone who's seen a lot of comedy. We saw him.
It's like improv rapping, isn't it?
A gangster rapping, he calls it, from a posh boy. That's how he'd describe it. It's like nothing I've seen before. So we saw him about 3 years ago down in Morley Bottoms at a bar called Oscars, and they have this tiny venue that probably only seats about 45 people upstairs, and he was one of the acts on. And we came out of that going, he's amazing, oh my word. And then a year ago, luckily, I was at the Wardrobe seeing another gig, and I saw it advertised that it was on. I was like, I have got to get this. I got it for my husband's birthday present. He didn't know, total surprise. and it was at the Wardrobe, completely sold out. I'd looked for tickets like 8 months ago for my sister, and it was sold out by then, because he's massive on TikTok and Instagram. And we went to the show, and I was able to review that one as well and promote it, because next it's gone up from Morley Bottom seating 45 to the Wardrobe. Next year he's got a whole show on at Leeds Grand. So then I was able to say, look, get your tickets now for this at Leeds Grand. This guy is amazing. And so, do you know what? For that Instagram page for me is, I don't know who reads it. I almost don't care. I was almost like, do you know what? This isn't much for me. Yeah. If you love theatre, if you want to know what's going on in Leeds, I can't see everything that's going on in Leeds, because Leeds is so incredibly amazing with the amount of stuff going on. But I see a lot of it, particularly children's theatre. It's like, well, do you know what? If you want to see what's going on, jump on and follow me, and then I'll share as much as I can. Particularly, let's say, I like sharing a lot of children's theatre that's coming up as well, and seeing it. And it's hard for a parent to know what to spend your money on, because theatre is so expensive. It's like, what do I do? And if I see something coming up that's particularly amazing, or if I've seen something, I will really sell it. So like we saw at the Playhouse at Easter, Planet Omar, which was one of the best kids shows I've ever seen, and it was doing a full 4-week tour, and it was that good. So after it, I was really plugging it. I was like, go and see it. I was sharing my reviews in Facebook groups that I'm in, like Morley Mamas and the Morley Facebook town people, and it's just, I don't think it's, like I say, you get so overwhelmed with what's out there. It's knowing what's good and what to spend your money on. So I like it, and for me, the social media, my Instagram account, is a way for me to keep better connected as well, because like I say, there's that much going on. If there's a theatre company I particularly like, I'll follow them. There's directors I follow, I can tag them in. My best, the most amount of views always comes from like local amateur groups that I review. So I try and
I was going to say, do you go to like the Eden Town Hall and Garford groups?
So I try to go to as much community theatre as I can go to. I mean, obviously I'm in a full-time job. I've got 2 children, and I'm in the PTA, and I do all of that stuff. But I try to go to as much community theatre as possible. So like, shout out to Beeston St Andrews Pantomime I think it was in February. I did a review for them because I went with my son's Beaver group. So schools, I've done a review for Morley Academy as well. Just trying, and also, if people want me to do a review, I've had people often request, will you come and see a review of this show? And if I can make it, I'm like, absolutely. And they particularly like it, because I know that then, especially if I go early on in the run, they can use it to push the ticket sales. Yeah,
well, and it will get some anyway, because if people are reading your reviews, they like what you're saying and sort of a simpatico with your taste, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, I'll go see that if you recommend it.
And my favourite thing to see, this is going to sound really narcissistic of me, but my favourite thing to see is when a company uses something I've written to advertise the shows.
That's cool.
Because it's cool. And it's, they come here, and even the touring ones, they've got to go on and finish their tour, so they might as well write what someone else.
Well, I mean, what do you most want when you're putting a show on? You want an audience, and it's and it's hard to get the audience, and so often with stuff like, hopefully it's a bit better now, but one of the things that was a constant for me in Leeds is like, you go around and you'd see all the arts leaflets, and you'd pick a thing up and you go, oh, that looks really interesting. Oh, it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't you find out about the things that are happening in time to go and see them?
And find out about the good things that's happening.
And it's the same for them, because they're like, why are our audience finding out about it 3 weeks later? Because you didn't start marketing soon enough.
Yeah, and I try to do that. So I've been helping out this year with a brass band marching competition in Morley March and Hymn Tune Contest. And again, it's an amazing event. It's, like 15 brass bands marching down the centre of Morley High Street, but it's about getting that information out there, that advertisement. So again, with them, I don't just write reviews as well. Something I've been doing more and more is writing interviews as well, to try and promote these things in advance, and it's getting it out there. So I interviewed 2 of the founding members of it, and we did an article with Leeds Living In. Again, I advertised it on my review page, just being like, who are you? What do you do? What's this event about? What should people expect to come to you? Because these amazing events are on, And you just want people to know about it so that they can experience it. It's about creating that community feel, isn't it? Getting people involved in Leeds. What I'm always really conscious about, though, as well, is that I don't just say that everything is amazing. I'm quite open with that. I'd say I'm always fair, and I think
some days it is very dreadful and boring.
So I think I'm fair, and that comes from being a teacher. Like, you know, you mark an essay, you know, you always look for the positives, and you always give it. And I think that's part of my personality. I don't just want to because at the end of the day, theatre and the arts is objective. What I might not like,
subjective.
Objective, subjective. It's what I might like, someone else might not like, and vice versa. So I look from it in terms of the stagecraft. How is it executed? What's the technique like? I'll look at all areas for it. What is the area that I feel is lacking? And I do try and if I ever say there's negatives, I focus on what particular. I don't just go, that's awful.
Yeah.
I'm like, look at it, like, from an educational point of view, you know, this is what's working. This is what maybe you could. I don't give it a sort of like a lecture to them on. You need to work on this, and this. It's just for anyone wanting to see. You know, if you like this sort of thing, go and see it. It wasn't my cup of tea. The thing with Leeds Living is, because with Leeds Living, it's a magazine designed to promote Leeds, and so it's all run by volunteers. All the writers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. I mean, I get out of it some free tickets, which is always great. But, you know, we are volunteers. And my editor, I do want to give a shout out to Mags, my editor, who is fantastic, and I've probably talked to more than I talked to my husband. Having said that, I've yet to meet her in 9 years of working with her. We must email 30 times a week, and I'm like, Mags, are we going to actually meet up at some point? But she's this faceless woman in the back. I send her a Christmas card every year with my kid's face on, so she knows that's what he looks like. But Mags, she's a brilliant editor, and that really helps me because she makes my words look good on the website. She's really organised. She's really supportive. She never takes away my voice. However, because we want to promote Leeds, there's been a few times where we're like, I think it's probably best that we just don't publish that at all. If that's the case, then I will always comment something on it on my Instagram page, because I feel like I want people to know that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, but if I don't say things negative,
I know what you mean.
Then people aren't going to trust it when I say this is amazing. But what Mags is great at, she does publish things as well that are like, I do say negative things about, so I don't want you to think that Mags just publishes.
Well, also criticism's an important part. You need the feedback of,
and it's also not for everyone. It's not for everyone. People need to know. So she's great. She publishes most of what I say exactly as I say it. There's just been a few where I've written the review and I'm just like, I cannot recommend the show to absolutely anyone. That's the point where she goes, maybe we just tell them. And to be fair, the Grand and the Playhouse are great. The press companies are great. They're just like, oh yeah, we'd rather you just not publish it. Thank you. We really appreciate that. You know,
I want to give a shout out to Carriage Works and City Varieties as well.
I will talk about them. Believe I've got some massive things to say about them too, which I'm big up about it. So yeah, they're the two that there is obviously with Leeds Playhouse and the Grand. They're the two that contact us the most, so they give us they're like, couldn't they approach us, them out. But there's been things that I've gone to see at them where I've approached them, where I've been like, I really want to come and see this show, you know, would you like me to review it, can I do this for you? So with them two, I'd love to see more there. It's just hearing from them a bit more, and then maybe building up that connection with them. But I've seen some amazing things there. So the Carriage Works, without a doubt, does the best panto I've ever seen. With Jed Edwards. Jed Edwards, is it? Jez Edwards. So that, for children, the Carriage Works does the best panto, because Jez Edwards is on another level. It just won an award this year for best pantomime performance. It was stunning, and so big shout out to the Carriage Works for setting us up last year, because they were so kind. They actually gave us four tickets so we could all go as a family, and it was one of the best experiences the four of us have ever had. Like, I don't know how Jez manages to do that performance for like, I don't know, like 6 weeks straight, but it was incredible. And it's a really nice space if you've ever been to the Carriage Works.
I've been in, but I've never seen anything there, which I need to.
So I reviewed as well last year, talking about sort of like community ones. I did a review last year. I got contacted by the Leeds Children Theatre, and I did a review of theirs last year, of the Gingerbread Man, and I went in advance and I did an interview about their company, what they do, because again they're a group of volunteers who work creating theatre, not just for children but with children. So when I interviewed them, I interviewed some of the children that worked for and performed in their show, and then I went to see their show and wrote a review on that as well. And so the Carriage Works, that, you know, they're part of the Leeds arts community, and they do a lot of community theatre as well, and I know that Lidos is based out of there as well. It's a lovely theatre, and they do in particular a lot of children's theatre, which is really nice. They do quite a lot of Julia Donaldson's ones, and it's, you know, it's just a lovely, and I think it's one that people might not know about as much or be as aware of. But the pantomime, and it's also the best value for money in terms of panto. If you're looking for a slot, I think, you know, the most expensive seats I think were £28 for the. I've booked. So we always go to one panto on Christmas Eve every year with my family, and I've booked it for my whole family. We're going this year for Christmas Eve because I was like, the kids loved it that much. The city varieties, it tends to have more comedians on, which are for one night. Yeah. So you tend not to. They don't do press nights for them because they're only on for one night, and since the promotion isn't really part of it. However, for the first time this year, Christmas Eve show this year, I'd never been to City Varieties. Can you believe 10 years in Leeds, and I'd never been to City Varieties before. And I'd heard about the rock and roll panto because I was speaking to a theatre critic from the Yorkshire Times, and she was saying that's my favourite one, and I was like, all right, I've got to go and see it. Particularly as I'm a musician as well, so I grew up. Of
course you are.
Of course I am. Do you know what? Theatre wasn't part of my growing up really. Yeah. It was music. It was the brass band world. It was. I played piano. Theatre was something
it's all performance though.
It was still exactly, but theatre was something I found for myself. That was a love sort of. I did from A level, from doing it, studying it as a subject.
You do theatre studies?
I did theatre studies, but we never did any shows.
Really?
Never did any shows in my
school. So what did you do for your practical?
So yeah, A level, we did our A level exam plays, but we never did the school, never did any musicals. Right. So the first thing that I did when I went back as a teacher there was put on the first musicals I'd done in 30 years, obviously. But I didn't have a part of that growing up. But I was heavily involved in music. So music's my thing. I'm a euphonium player. And so, you know, it's great seeing a play with live music as well. I'm always like, brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I took all my family to see that on Christmas Eve this year. That was our Christmas Eve panto. And for me as an adult, that was the best panto I've seen. Like, if you want the children sort of panto, they getting them up, screaming 6, 7, getting their kids dancing in the aisle, absolutely, you know, I can't fault the Carriage Works. But for me, there was something so unique about the rock and roll panto. Like, the talent, honestly, you don't normally associate incredible talent with pantomimes all the time, do you? But having the Dame being hilarious, and then just picking up his sax and belting out a little sax solo. And that was all the performers. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like, theatre performers who are also musicians are becoming much more prolific in the theatre world now. You've now got degrees on at LIPA where you specialise in that sort of style of performance. But it is impressive to watch because not only can they sing, dance and act, they can now also whip out an instrument as well on stage. So for me, the talent, and my siblings went to me, they were like, that was incredible. So if you want in a panto that's not quite as cheesy, not quite as corny, that's maybe got, you know, it's actually a really good quality production to see. Definitely City Varieties. And do you know what a beautiful theatre as well. And you just wouldn't know it was there. It's down this. I was going down an alleyway thinking, is this really where a theatre is? Where am I going? And it was just appeared.
Well, do you know the history of it as well?
I know absolutely nothing about it. Go for it.
It was a music hall.
Yeah, I can
And
see, yeah. I can see
so,
that.
you know the Scarborough Hotel that's down by the railway station?
Yeah.
So they used to have a speaker in there, because like that, and they'd call the acts up and stuff. Like, it was connected to some of the pubs in Leeds.
Oh, wow.
Because obviously music hall was the thing.
Yeah.
You know, everyone went to music hall. And they had some TV show. Why they call it the world famous varieties? Because they had this TV show in the 70s. God, what was it called? I can't remember now. But it was basically a music hall TV show, and it was filmed and sort of set at the varieties. And it was very neglected for a long time, and they've sort of refurbed it. But I think it's a great space, and it should get a lot more people. I remember going to see, years ago, this was in the 90s, do you know Rich Hall, the American comedian? No. He's sort of older now. Like, he was on TV a lot, but yeah, he's a funny stand-up. I liked him anyway. I went to see him at the City Varieties, and there was only like, sort of 20, 50 people in the audience, and he was like, this is kind of a rubbish turnout. And in his interval, he went out and he bought a bunch of chocolate bars for everyone. It was like, here, have a chocolate bar, because there's only a few of you. So,
it's like being at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, isn't it? Where you only have like 5 people show up to your show. It's sad. But it's advertisement, isn't it? And you think now with social media, hopefully the message is getting out there.
But it's also not visible, like you say, on the street, because you sort of go up. But have you been in the Swan next door, the pub next door? So that's quite nice. It's quite a nice little sort of pub. And it's one of those, if you know about it, it is a good, it's a nice, quiet alleyway, isn't it? It's not too busy. And then you've got the Crystal shop on that side, and I think the bagel shop's still there, I can't remember. And then the pub, and then you've got the theatre, and they do a lot of good stuff on there. They have a lot of good people on, but you really have to keep your eye on it, don't you?
Yeah, and the really famous ones just sell out really quickly as well, isn't there? So another theatre company in Leeds that I really admire, and I try to go, it's one that I try to go to whenever I possibly can, is Slunglow Theatre.
Yes.
Absolutely love Slunglow. So it's really local to where we are here. It's just down there in Holbeck, and I just love the ethos that they have as a company.
Is it all still pay as you feel?
Yeah, so it's all pay as you can. You book your tickets online for free, and then as you exit, you pay what you can. And it is in quite a deprived area of Leeds, and it really supports the community. They do loads of initiatives there. They put on loads of free events, not just theatre, but just things that will generally bring the community together. I went to the Christmas market they did, for example, and that was amazing. It just loads of different events like that, and they were brilliant for us. Like as a college, there was one year where we couldn't use the theatre, and they just offered us the theatre for free, and they're like, you can come and use ours for these sessions. And it's everything they do is that, what can we do as a community? One of my favourite events they put on each year is they do a end of summer ceilidh dance. I love ceilidh. I had it for my 40th birthday this year. There's just nothing quite like dancing as a group of people together to some really cool music. And yet they did that. And so they did that outside their other location. I think it's called Temple, near the Arches. So they've got 2 locations. So they've got the warehouse, which is where the main theatre is. And they've also got this location that's outside by the Arches, and it's lovely. You've got lights strung up everywhere, and we just all danced outside, and it's an amazing space, and it's an amazing company. And do you know what? I've seen some really good theatre there, really good. There was one of the best shows that I saw last Christmas was called Little Christmas. I think it was Red Ladder Company. I'm really sorry if that's the company that I've shouted out there, but it was an amazing children's show. There's 3 actors on stage, phenomenal singing, harmonies. My children were just engrossed through it, and they'd set up the whole of the space so it was very Christmassy, and there was stuff that the kids can go and take pictures on, and probably shouldn't have climbed all over, but all the children were climbing all over him. And it's just, everyone's there so friendly and so happy, and the tea, they have warm tea, the tea and coffee, which again is pay as you can, and you're just like, oh, what a space. I've taken my students there as well, because again, the area of Leeds we're in, a lot of our children can't afford to go to the theatre, or they've not grown up in households where they get taken to the theatre, or the schools haven't taken them to theatre, and it's hard for them to have the opportunity, or it's hard for them to have the motivation to do it themselves when they're not used to going to the theatre or knowing what to go and watch.
Yeah.
And because I'm a minibus driver, just to add another tip to my list, because I'm a minibus driver, it's great because I can just hire get the college minibus and be like, on a Saturday, the Slunglows, they're usually on a Saturday night, I'll get a minibus, meet the kids at college, bung them into the minibus, we'll drive to the theatre. And there's loads of parking around there, and then we'll go and see a show, and I'll say to the students, look, just pay what you can afterwards. And it just gives, and it's theatre for students like some of ours who otherwise wouldn't go to the theatre. And you know, because I can drive them there as well. They don't have to worry about making their way to a theatre they've never been before. It's just such a brilliant opportunity. And I've never worked somewhere that offers something like that before. I mean, I hope that projects like that are growing up more around the country. My fear says probably there's getting less because of funding, but I hope that projects like that grow. And Slunglow is so unique, it's so invaluable for me as a college teacher to be able to take the students somewhere that they can access that's not extortionate amount of money. And some of the shows at Leeds Grand, some of the ones at the Playhouse, you know, they are expensive.
I like that Opera North did that cheap, or was it free, where like the audio described like casual opera of like, you can make noise and mess about, we'll still do the opera for you.
They're definitely trying to do, they do a lot of like, I think, is it the Grand do if you buy it on the day and you're under 30, you can get like £5 tickets and things like that. Yeah. I think anything that can get people to go to the theatre. But I think the Sunglow's a good starting point because it's less pressure for the students to go somewhere completely out of the comfort zone.
It's less threatening.
It's less threatening.
Like
it's like
when
overwhelming.
You said about going to teach at Hogwarts, it's like it's intimidating to people if they're not used to it, because it's that sort of, I'm going to stand out here. Everyone, you know, it's like imposter syndrome turned up. You know,
especially
kind of like,
the Grand.
everyone will know that I'm not supposed to be here, and the security will follow me around, and it's like, just act like you're supposed to be there.
Put that on silent. I don't know how to say that.
That's fine. I mean, we've kind of derailed the questions and stuff. So,
no, do you know what? You go. I just wanted to say that shout out to Slunglow because they are fab.
Well, what I'm going to do, so I'll have a quick discussion on this, and then I'll ask like a couple of the questions.
No, you go for it. Get back on track. Let's do it. I'm a drama teacher. I like talking.
Well, we've not got that much time. So, but what you were saying about the theatre and stuff, and also the social media stuff. I mean, obviously, normally there's a question about how much you have to do social media, and it's obviously like a large part of what you're doing, and is integral to what you're doing. But I think as well from a performance standpoint. So I think there's an interesting thing here with theatre in that you're giving your students performance skills that will be really useful in their social media.
Yeah.
And also with social media and sort of media more general becoming more kind of censorious, like theatre is still the place where you can be radical, where you can be free, and where you can, you know, really sort of exercise freedom of speech. And I think theatre is going to be something that sort of, that's your more radical space now, where you can say things that you can't say on telly because
it's not being recorded.
Ideally.
That's it, because in normal life, everything's recorded, isn't it? And it is, and not that you shouldn't be held accountable to what you say in the theatre, but it is that I've got a safe space, I can say it. And also it's, some sort of theatre is, you want to see lots of different sides of points of view as well, haven't you? I think theatre, it's got so much power, massive amount of power.
I mean, how many times has the best thing you've seen in a year or in months been like a one-person show where someone's just doing a monologue and it's like minimal set and stuff? I mean, I've seen a bunch of those where it's like, you know, that's better than half a dozen a show I've seen with like a huge budget and like lots of tech and
Yeah, so I mean, I craft my course here really carefully, knowing that I'm in a, you know, I've not got a huge budget, I've not got loads of techie equipment, I'm me, I've not got another drama teacher, I've not got a technician, so I've got to craft theatre on a budget. And actually, less is often much better.
Got to be more creative.
Definitely. So in year 12, my students for the devise, we create children's theatre and we take it on tour. So we take it to perform in primary school, and it's like they've got to then create, and the style of theatre we do, it's like very much everything's homemade. You make your puppets yourself, you cut up card boxes and you make things, and it's all about we'll go to the primary school, we can't take lighting with us. It's, me on a piano and them lot on stage performing with puppets and telling stories. It's all about the storytelling behind it. And so they've got to be more creative with that. And it's stripping it back a bit. And then in year 13, we do complete contrast. We do the style of theatre known as Burkoff, in the stand Stephen Burkoff, which, again, although you do have lights with that one, it strips it back. There's nothing fancy on stage. It's the performers, and the performers create everything. And so I can run a really practical, diverse course without it costing money. And actually, they gain more skills by that than if they went to a private school and they have thousands of money, and if nothing. It's the real world as well. Like, you go on to be a professional performer, you're going to be doing things on a budget or on social media, like more and more times. You are doing performances on social media. It's really interesting, that performance on social media, because now a lot of the theatre courses that you do at university, they offer you training in performances for social media. Like, how bonkers is that? Like, this didn't exist 10 years ago, and this is what the world is like. So I know that you were saying about theatre being about where you can express your opinions and your thoughts. I just hope that the budget with the government following Brexit and everything that happened after COVID, it just doesn't strip away performances altogether. That's my biggest fear as a teacher, and a teacher in the current climate now, is for music, it's dwindling away to nothing. It's practically gone in music. The A-level music is, you go round schools in Leeds and so few students now play instruments. Like proper traditional instruments, other than guitar and that, play, your trumpets, your clarinets, your violins, they're just disappearing unless you're in a private school. And even then they're disappearing. Our A-level music is dwindling to nothing, and we're so lucky here that we have got a principal who's always said, I don't want a college without A-level music in it. It's really rare that you get that in a state school. So we're really lucky that we have both A-level music and A-level music tech. Really lucky, regardless of number. We do have smaller numbers in music, but we do a lot of promotion of it. But drama is heading the same way.
Do you ever take the students to see, obviously there's musicals, but do you ever take them to see musicians perform? Because
we've been to Leeds Conservatoire. There's a good place to see. We've done a trip over to Harrogate to see piano recitals as well. Again, I could just bung them in the minibus, take them over to these places. We've had professional performers come into college, so we do live music concerts every few weeks here at lunchtime, where a lot of the time it's the students performing, but sometimes we've had professionals in as well. So I've had organised a professional string quartet to come in to perform to the students. We've had a jazz band and a bluesy jazz band. We had a poet as well come in to do some spoken word as well. He was from Beeston. Cool. That was cool. That was brilliant.
I bet I love that.
Oh yeah, I definitely. It was powerful stuff. So yeah, we tried. But my concern is that drama's heading the same way. Following COVID, we saw a massive slump in numbers because when in year 7 and 8, students weren't allowed to perform. And so then they're not going to take it for GCSE as an option. And the focus was all on these children have missed out all of that education during COVID on just basic reading and writing and maths, and they wanted to get those skills up, which is fine, but it was the arts that took the hit. And so numbers were down at Key Stage 4, which meant the knock-on effects for Key Stage 5. And it's harder to, students are coming to me at A-level having never done GCSE drama, sometimes because it wasn't offered. And it is harder, and I suppose with the current financial like the issues going on in the economy, I think you've got more parents who are maybe a bit more reluctant to let them take subjects like drama.
What are they going to do? I mean, it's this sort of AI Kool-Aid stuff, isn't it? And it's like, oh, there's no future in that. And people have always sort of had that attitude with the arts. I tell you, the amount of people that I've interviewed for this who are, arts-based artists who make a living, it's like, no, this is a space where you can make a living, where you can eke out something, and you're making something, especially if you've got real skills and you can bring those and combine them with different things. I want to just get you to sort of speak on multimedia elements within the sort of school productions and stuff. How much does that happen now? Because I remember when I was doing my theatre studies, so I did. I can't remember what it's called, but it's you do your 10-minute piece.
Yeah.
And so I had like video element, and then I had like all sorts of lighting and weird music, and so I had the performers interacting with the video element. So, and you could do wild things now. Like, if people are imaginative and like, so is there a lot of that, or
so
do people
it depends on the college and the resources that the college have got. Mm-hmm. So we have with children's theatre some elements of multimedia, but I'm very much like, I don't have a technician, it's me on my own.
Yeah.
I want the students to focus on them as performers. I've only got them for 18 months, realistically, the time that they spend here. And so for me, it's a practical drama course. I want them to focus on the acting.
Yeah.
That's the important thing for me. I do use PowerPoints a lot within we do a whole college production every year that anyone can be involved in. And I always do. This year we did Alice in Wonderland. My year 12s normally get to choose the big show. So they chose Alice in Wonderland. Again, they had the projections up on it. We did Antigone before, where we had some brilliant use of multimedia there. So within our college, I mean, we offer film and media as an A-level here, but within our college's drama, I'd say we focus on the performance of them without it, because sometimes, and it's the same. It's the same with shows that I've seen. It can be brilliant. It could be horrendous. So I went to see Bat Out of Hell at Leeds Grand last year. Their use of multimedia, they had live recording on stage, and which was shown on the screens, and the performer. It was very modern, very interactive, but it just totally ruined the performance for me. I'm like, I don't know where I'm meant to look. That cameraman is blocking what I actually want to be seeing.
Yeah.
It was just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Whereas then I went to see War of the World, and it blew my mind what they did. They were using holograms and all sorts in it. The whole thing was recorded by, there's 4 members of the cast, and 3 of them filmed everything. And all the set and everything was done on like almost.
Was it the same people that did the Night of the Living Dead that they did a few years back?
I've no idea. I didn't see that, but this one was unique. So another job I have, just because I like collecting roles. Another role that I have is that I work for AQA as an examiner for A-level, and I've had the pleasure of going out and seeing other schools, and multimedia in other schools, particularly the private schools, has grown massively. Yeah. Particularly there's a practitioner called Katie Mitchell, who's really popular. It's kind of like a realism in terms of the style of the performance, but they use multimedia to really capture the emotions of the performer on stage. And if the school's got the facilities, you've got a technician, or you've got a student who's particularly engaged, more and more schools are using that now. It's a 50-50 split as to whether it's used well. And again, if it's used well, it's brilliant, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah. But if it's not used well, it can actually...
It detracts.
It does detract, and it's not needed. And you're like, actually, the performance would be better without it. Yeah. So media in the theatre, it's got its place, but it can't just be used for the sake of using it. It just doesn't work. So you've just, not all the time. So I think you've got to think carefully. Am I using social media because I'm running out of ideas and I'm trying to cover it? Yeah. Or am I using the media to create something?
to look cool and trendy, or am I using it
for a
to
purpose,
further the story and enhance the story?
So I think that's a really important consideration. And like I say, I'd say 9 times out of 10 when I see professional theatre, they don't use media.
Yeah.
It's still something that's left to just a few.
I think as well, like, you know, when we've mentioned puppetry a lot, and like some of the best theatre I've ever seen. Did you ever see anything by Impossible? They were a really good theatre company. I don't know if they're still going, but they did a lot of puppet stuff, and like it's some of the best stuff, because you need like the physicality and the presence of theatre. That's the thing. It's not just about the performance. It's about that atmosphere around it. It's the liveness, you know, more so than TV's supposed to be. You know, media theory liveness. It's 20 to...
No, I know. I was trying to find the theatre company that I was at Slung. So it's interesting talking about puppetry, because you'd think with all of the technology, puppetry might be a dying art, but if anything, puppetry has increased more over the years. I mean, we use it in our Year 12, the children's theatre. And children's theatre, you can't go to a children's theatre show without seeing puppetry, and I love it. It's that element of using your imagination, of suspending disbelief, of students engaging with it. It's absolutely fantastic. So there was one production that I took my students to see at Slung Low in like September, October time, and it was called At Sea. I'm trying to find the company that did it, and it was absolutely amazing, because the whole thing was done just using puppetry, like an hour show, and it was so creative. And at the end of it, they got the audience to come up and play with the puppets themselves and see how they were controlled, and they showed my students how they're made, and the students were fascinated, more fascinated than even if they were shown how multimedia was done, because you can get your hands on it, it's aesthetic, it's like I want to have a go at doing it. With all the things that are going on, like all the things that they watch from multimedia and social media and all this thing, it's like, actually, maybe we just need to go back to basics.
It is the basics,
and storytelling and strip it back. Music is another thing that's becoming more and more important with theatre.
Especially if it's a live real instrument as well, and it's not samples. And
my favourite shows are the ones where we go and see, where you have a live orchestra on the stage, and it happens less and less with musicals. So many musicals you go now and it's either just recorded music, or it's just sort of like a corny little band, like pop band, whatever it is. We're going to see, we're reviewing Sound of Music by Opera North in a few weeks. My kids' favourite show, they're 6 and 8, and Sound of Music, doesn't it just show how timeless it is that they're still loving it? So we're going to see that in a few weeks, and their orchestra is so big they have to take out the first few rows of the ground so that they can fit it in, and they hire their own professional orchestra that's like full-time musicians, and you just can't compare going and see it.
And like the you know, and that's the thing that people underestimate, of like, you see an orchestra on TV or whatever, but the power of like seeing a full orchestra,
it's phenomenal.
And when they it's just like, whoa, that's, you know, you really feel something from
I'm very excited as a euphonium player. In 2 weeks' time, Brass Off is on at Leeds Playhouse, and I'm so excited. And again, see the whole brass band, and there's 2 brass bands that are taking in turns to perform there, and I just cannot wait, because again, it's seeing the live musicians. But this is my fear, that if we don't put the funding into music in schools, where are those musicians going to come from, if not your private schools? And it's like, no, we need to, they keep talking about levelling up and like funding things like this. I'm like, what about the arts? Because it's getting harder to fund places at university. You need more money to do this. And it's like, you know, it's the training that comes behind being a performer on stage, the dance lessons, the singing lessons, instruments in school. And there are some amazing facilities that are out there. Opera North, I know, I've had a big partnership with Richmond Hill Primary School. Then I went and had a look around Richmond Hill. I was a meeting there, and the corridors are lined with instruments, cellos and violins, and I'm just like, this is phenomenal, but why can't we have this in all schools? Why is it just a select number of students who are getting this? And you know, you were talking about there being professions that you can go into with drama, but drama and music, studying it and going and seeing shows, it's not just about it being a career, it's about being a passion for your life.
And also having confidence, knowing how to present, knowing how to project. Like, if you're living in a world, especially like, as it all becomes more Americanized, if you're going to have to do a big event every year, pitching your thing, and you want to be this CEO, grind set, whatever, you need to be able to have presence on that stage. You need to command, you need to perform.
It's a life skill.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting fact, and I always say this to my students who are not sure about doing A-level drama, and to parents as well. One of the top careers that my students go into who do drama, so what they're most likely, like courses they're most likely to go in, I'd say probably one of the top 3 is law. My students go on to do law, and we have at this college something called a mock bar where they do like sort of mock trials. And do you know what? It's the drama students who get to go and normally get the top roles in it, because they've got the confidence to stand up and speak to other people and work with each other. In a time when social media is taking over and children are communicating more and more online, you know, you still need to have those skills where you can sit in a room and work with someone and talk to them.
Look somebody in the face, look them in the eye, like look up.
And tell someone,
thing.
Talk to someone with respect, and to be like, I don't agree with your opinion, but I'm going to listen to you, and then I'm maybe, rather than putting you down, I'm going to suggest another opinion that we can maybe do. It's about working with time constraints as well. You've got a show that's on in 4 weeks. When are you going to do it? When are you going to work together? How are you going to make sure you're finished on time? You've got to make sure your lighting's done, your costume's done, your set's done. And then not just that, you're learning about communities around you and different people, and you're learning to appreciate the world around you, and looking at the psyche of how people work and how relationships form. We analyse all that within A-level drama, and then you get to get up and practically step into their shoes and be like, what's it like for this person in this different culture? And A-level theatre now with AQA, the focus so much is on that social, cultural and historic aspect. In every part of the course, they have to comment on how are you going to show that culture in your work, in your essay, in your performance. And that's what AQA and A-level drama in particular are trying to get them to think about, is appreciating other cultures and other societies and showing it through the work and understanding their own culture by doing that as well. There's so many skills that you get from drama.
Yeah, and the now, like, so if you think of, you know, sort of, I don't know, a bunch of 60s plays and the kind of like angry young men sort of stuff, like, but that's something that's contemporary then, that's now historical now. It's like, this culture that you're living in, that you think is very present and very forever, this is all going to be different in 5, 10, 20 years, you know, like, and what you've made here now, that's about now, will be something very different for other people to sort of look back on. And that's the same thing with all the historical plays and when you do all the Shakespeare stuff. Anyway, I'm going to ask you a final question
go for it.
to wrap it up, and then I'll do the like socials thing. And you have to remind me to take a photo, because I'm rubbish at remembering to do it, because, So, we've gone all over the place. We've kind of touched on some of my points that I would have asked you about if we'd have had a more structured interview. But, you know, it's good to go off piece sometimes.
We're artists, aren't we? We wonder.
So, I'm going to ask you the change question. So, if you could change any 3 things about your work, so you can be pragmatic, you can be fantastical, you can make it specifically about, you know, you'd be like, I want a bigger office, or I want everyone in the country to do theatre, whatever it is. If you could change any 3 things about your work, what would you change?
I think funding for the arts in schools, that's the main thing that I would look at changing, and having the time in schools to allow students to do the arts. It's not like you're on a carousel where you can do drama one year and do art the other. It's having it as part of the curriculum and realising that these skills are vital. It's not just, I mean, maths and your English are important, but it's making you whole-rounded people. I mean, look at COVID. When we went into COVID, people fell on music. They wanted art. They wanted that escapism. It was good for your mental health. And children need it. They need to experience. You look back to ancient Greece and they made it compulsory for all citizens to attend the theatre. I mean, like, if they could get it right 2,500 years ago, what's going on now? And particularly funding theatre in your state schools, it's making us work so that we're on a level playing field. You know, you go and see these orchestras and you've got people in there who are from state schools. You go and see a piece of theatre at the Royal Shakespeare Company and there's people in there who've been to state schools in Leeds. You know, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, my children go to Stagecoach, it costs me an arm and a leg and they're brilliant, but wouldn't it be nice that if everyone has the experience
and
of
the
being
access.
involved, the access. So I think just the funding for the arts is a big one. The other one is, I think, specifically about teachers. I mean, I've been in teaching now for 20 years and there's been a change, there's been a shift in it. It is a harder job than what it is, but mainly with the paperwork and the things that you've got to, the red tape around everything. And the government are trying to sort out the crisis of teachers by giving more money to new teachers and making it easier for new teachers to join and all the support for new teachers. The thing I would change is to have rewards for the teachers who stay. Because, you know, 1 in 5 teachers who train end up leaving by the second year. You know, more of them, a third end up leaving after 5 years. I'm like, but what about the ones that stick? Yeah. So in the career of teaching, if you want to progress, you have to leave the classroom. Like, if I wanted to progress I wanted to make more money, go higher. Yeah. It's all about leaving the classroom.
Or you have to do a sideways step, don't you? It's not like there's the progression routes anymore. You either have to, you know, you go horizontally, don't you? You try to get more money or to get a better position.
It's all about, but even then, there's a cap on what you can make as a classroom teacher in the country. And I'm like, do you know what?
And then you have to go into the more admin side of, like, being deputy or head of department.
And I fundamentally love my job. I love working with students. I love teaching drama. There's nothing more I love better than being in the classroom and seeing the students develop as people, developing confidence and having deep discussions about things that matter in the world, and the banter that you can have with students. It's brilliant. Like, I cry from laughter daily in my job.
Oh, God. I mean, teenagers are hysterical. All their hormones are everywhere. You never laugh so much.
They're just funny. They're just hilarious to work with. Why would I want to leave that? But then, what is the incentive for teachers to stay in? And I mean, I'm at the point now where loads of people who are qualified with, or teachers of my same age, and it's all over the country, they're like, why are we staying? Like, these new teachers are coming in and you know, they're getting better deals than we ever got. And so I think for teaching, it's having that incentive to reward teachers who want to stay and teach, who love the teaching, and just having a pathway, I think, for them, especially in the arts. I think with the arts teachers, probably the same with PE as well, with subjects like ours, you spend so much extra of your time with these students. You know, it's not just you're in the classroom, it's you're doing rehearsals, you're doing PE practices, you're doing that. Do you know what? We don't have time to take on extra teaching responsibilities and do extra roles that I'm not saying that it's you know, significantly easier for other subjects, but it is particularly hard in the arts, and anything extra that you want to do would take you away from that. So I think, again, it's just supporting, rewarding teachers, making it a career that you want to see in, that you don't feel like a failure because it's like, oh, I'm not a vice principal at the age of 40. You mustn't be a very good teacher. You've not done well in your career, are you? You're just a classroom teacher.
I don't want to do loads of paperwork.
No, I want to do
for that.
And so it's a really tough thing to be like, am I a failure after 20 years of teaching because I've made the choice to stay in the classroom? And it is a constant.
The thing that you actually wanted to do.
And the thing that I think I'm good at as well, and that I love doing. So I think it's that pressure of maybe having some sort of incentive or some sort of reward, or just maybe society changing that thought process of, you don't have to constantly progress. You don't have to leave the classroom to be a good teacher. There's other things that you could do. as well. So that's my other thing I think in the teaching world. Would I have a third one? Maybe with theatre, because I've not talked much about the theatre. I'd love to have cheaper seats.
Yeah.
For children in particular.
Bring back
and make it more accessible.
The Globe, cheap seats for the masses.
But it's not just... So I would take children to the theatre more if there was... They don't do children's prices anymore.
Yeah, do a standby ticket. What happens to sort of... You remember you used to rock up at an airport in the 90s and you could get cheap tickets on the day sort of thing? And it's like, do that for theatre. You've been selling this thing for ages. Yeah. And especially with the kids, they don't like to buy things in advance. People are a bit more cautious.
I think some do for under 30s. I think that's a bit more for your under 30s. But for buying seats for children...
If you're not full...
Oh, if you're not full in it,
your
definitely.
Audience is, you've got 5 people in and you sold the tickets at 30 quid. It's like, make them £10 on the day for a few people.
So it's having a child's price for tickets.
£2. Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. And so very few theatres offer a child's price, and you're just like, can I take a risk of taking this child to the theatre and when he's paying an adult price ticket? And it does put you off. And I know why the theatre companies are doing it. It's because the funding's not there for them anymore, and it comes all back to the government putting that funding into the theatre. And maybe not every theatre, I'm not saying that all children or everyone needs to go in. I know, not all children need to go and see, shows like, I don't know, Legally Blonde. I love Legally Blonde, but not, do you know what I mean? They don't need to always go and see the big ones. But some shows like your Julia Donaldson type shows, your children's theatre, that teaches important messages, and the ballet. It was brilliant, but it was 35 quid for a child's ticket, and I'm like, for a family of 4, that is a lot of money when your child's ticket's the same. And it was a risk for me to take my son to it, and if I'd have had to, no offence, if I'd have had to have paid £35 for that ticket, I probably wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But I obviously got to see it as a theatre critic, which the best part about the job is I get to take chances. But that's the type of theatre that should be funded by a bit government more, or have free performances where primary schools can go and watch it and they go and see it, and just anything that makes the arts more accessible to everyone. And it's not this elitism that the UK seems to have in the art world at the minute. So that would be my 3 changes.
Okay, I'm going to stop us there. We've got 1 minute left.
Oh, what timing. Excellent.
Thank you again to Maria for being my guest. Thanks, as always, to all my guests. And thank you to you, Leeds, for being my subject. You can find Maria's reviews on her Instagram, instagram.com/Maria_reviews_Leeds_theatre, or go check out leedsliving.co.uk, and of course go and look at leedsheritagetheatres.com and leedsplayhouse.org.uk. Go see some theatre, it will do you good. If you'd like to contact me about being on this show, about what happened in this episode, or about anything at all working hours related, you can email this show at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. Remember, the show does not have to end after 200 episodes. It just will need you to make any more episodes happen. Buy an episode for yourself, or as a gift for someone else. You can make any contribution that you can towards new episodes, or you can help me pay for online hosting for the podcast, for the website, for the editing software, and for the email inboxes. The more you help, the more I can and will do. If you want to make a one-off donation, go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/working hours. Or if you can offer regular support, then please go to patreon.com/CW, that's Charlie Whiskey, /working hours pod. You don't sign your life away on either website. You can support the show for as long or as much as you want to and or can afford, and you can stop at any time. I will get most of whatever support you can and do give, and any help you can give does really, really help. So if you can help, please do. I'm also open to sponsorship and advertising offers for the show, or if you want to buy a bulk lot for your old people's home or for your workplace and you want to get 10 episodes, give me an offer. You know the email address, workinghourspod@western-studios.com. And also don't forget, you can help me in another way, because I also make podcasts for people and businesses, ideally in West Yorkshire, but it's a globalized world, so wherever really. If you need a podcast or you know someone who does, get in touch. And if you need help with a podcast you're already making, then give me a shout. Details for my business, Western Studios Leeds Limited, are in the credits after this bit. But the email is makemypodcast@western-studios.com. Get in touch if you need any podcast support. Okay, that's me. Remember, listener, no matter what you do, it is impossible for you to understand anything that your salary depends on you not understanding. So try to work for peace and try to plan with kindness. Raise your voice, but reduce your impact. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to one another, Leeds. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone else who you think would get something from it. Thank you. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited, created and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Remember, Western Studios Leeds Limited when you're ready to start making your content in West Yorkshire. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook, facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds, and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Bookmark western-studios.com so you can see the latest prices and use my contact page to drop me a message about your own podcast project or working hours at any time from anywhere. Maybe you want or need a podcast host, co-host or narrator for your podcast project. Maybe you just need another voice for one or more episodes of your show. Podcasts are so much more than gossip, book promotions and marketing for online courses. Podcasts and other audio content get your online brand out there. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to have an audiobook or video course? Want to share your learning, knowledge and expertise in your field? Want to learn, teach or raise awareness of something general or particular? Want to improve internal comms with messages your staff might actually engage with? Or do you just want to brighten up the world with some entertaining content? Then make a podcast. If you're making your podcast within West Yorkshire, then think about making it with western-studios.com. Whatever your podcast questions or needs, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.